Warning, this podcast contains heavy spoilers for not just one movie, but entire franchises. We highly recommend going and watching these movies before listening to us as a companion piece that stitches all the timelines into one creepy, crime-ridden story. There will be no more spoiler warnings. We do not break character. After this, there is no turning back. You've been warned. Hit the music.
You are talking about the nonsensical ravings of a lunatic mind.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
It's alive! It's alive!
You know what the worst thing is about us having to re-record the whole time? I keep laying out these banger jokes, but I can't keep telling them because you've heard them already and then you're not going to laugh, so we've ruined like a bunch of jokes because of this. An elderly man went into his doctor's office for his yearly physical when his doctor handed him a jar and asked him for a sperm sample. The doctor gave the man his jar and said, "Take this jar home and bring me back a semen sample tomorrow so we can get a sperm count." The next day, the 89-year-old man walked into the doctor's office and gave him the jar. However, the jar was as spotless and empty as it had been when the doctor gave it to the man. The doctor, being confused, asked, "What happened?" So the man explained, "Well, doc, it's like this. First I tried with my dominant right hand, but nothing happened. Then I tried with my left, and still nothing. Then later, after a while trying, I asked my wife for help. She tried with her right hand, and then with her left, and gave it all she could, but still nothing. She even tried with her mouth. First she tried with her teeth in, then with her teeth out, and still nothing. Finally, we even called up Carol, the lady next door, and she tried too. First with both hands, then under her arm, then with her mouth, her legs, and she even tried to squeeze it between her knees, but still nothing." The doctor was shocked. "You asked your neighbour?" The old man replied, "Yeah, and none of us could open that damn jar." "Doctor, quick, he's losing a lot of blood. He needs an infusion. What's his blood type?" Nurse, "Be positive." Doctor, "I'm trying, but he's lost a lot of blood." Hello and welcome to It's Alive Alive podcast. This is a true crime, paranormal, interstellar podcast breaking down unbelievable stories that sound like they were ripped straight from the pages of a Hollywood script. I'm your host, the man of many names, the outlaw Harley Ray, the bruiser Bronson, Dr. H.R. Smokenstein, THC, or you can just call me Josh for short. And with me as always is my very own scream queen, the perfect combination of beauty and brains, the gorgeous, the sexy Amy Rose. Sup?
Good evening.
How you doing after last week?
Grand.
Yeah, the anxiety gone.
Yeah, actually, it was literally just that last week.
Do you know what? I think I've been so fucking busy with it. I haven't had a chance to overthink it anymore. Do you know?
Yeah.
And
we are kind of getting busier with it.
Yeah, we did the one thing we swore we weren't going to do. We joined TikTok. And that's what's taking up all my time now because I realised I didn't have to do stupid silly dances. I could just make the videos beforehand and then post them.
Yeah, see, that was my thing. Yeah. I wasn't going dancing on TikTok.
But now it takes time to make those videos. But the only upside is I just take those videos and then share them on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. And it's not like I got to do 3 different posts. I just make one post and move on.
It goes on, yeah.
So it works out. But I think last week's episode, I was listening to last week's episode, and I think the production meeting helped. We got it right, you know. We knew what direction we were going in.
It was easier, yeah. It was easier to go.
We were with the flow. So you know, I like that episode. I think it's the best episode we've done yet.
How about my one?
Yeah, I liked your one too, but I just think as we go along, we're progressing and it's getting better and better and better.
You think that the best episode is yours?
Oh, maybe you'll top it today.
I don't think so. No, I'm joking. This is.
Oh, and if you do next week, I'm going to kick your ass because I got a good one next week. I'm actually excited, really, really excited about next week. I've been doing a lot of research and I've been enjoying the research and it's going to make me seem like a bit of a psychopath next week when I get into it because I've enjoyed it so much.
You said the same about Ghostface though.
Yeah, but they're not even as crazy as these people I'm covering. The people I'm covering
so it's more than one person.
Prolific is a word that gets thrown around a lot in true crime and serial killers and all this stuff, but this family definitely is prolific.
Oh, give game away.
Killing. Oh, it's good. I can't wait. But before we get into all that, you got your stuff to do, and I think it's good we're feeling more confident this week with it. You know,
Yeah.
we're getting into it a bit more. We're relaxing a bit more. But you know what? We need to fucking make this more relaxing. New chairs.
Oh.
Holy shit, my arse is
my
killing me.
butts. No, I can't even feel mine now.
It's
Mine's
not
gone
even
past
funny
that
anymore.
point.
We do everything on these chairs. We write the scripts on these chairs. We do the production meetings on these chairs. We edit on these chairs. And then we got to record on these chairs. And they are hard as fuck kitchen chairs.
We are getting new chairs though.
Oh, we're going to get those big ones with the vibrating kind of massage things.
chairs.
And, oh, definitely.
Probably can't have them on that vibrate on though because they're loud.
Yeah?
Yeah, aren't they?
I have no idea. We'll get
Oh, I can pick
silence.
them up. Silencers.
What silencers on the
What
chair?
you
No, I said
said.
we get silenced ones.
Silencers.
Oh, with a silenced one, someone. Is that one with a silencer? I mean, that always pissed me off when I watch shows, right? And they had the silencer on the gun, but you'd still hear the gun because obviously you hear that, like you said, that pew instead of that, but you'd still hear those little pew, pew, pew. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
what the fuck is that?
I
No,
probably just tricked myself into like a fly had just flown past.
They
or
do
something.
sound like that. When we went up to the gun range, and we were went to work, and we were doing rifles in the, do you know, like the long range you'd see on
Yeah.
the movies and stuff with the piece of paper at the end with the human shape on it.
Silhouette.
And so we all had the rifles in front of us and we were using them, but one of the rifles stopped working. So the guy that was watching us, supervising, gave that guy his rifle, but his rifle had a silencer on the top of it, and it was like that. Like the rest of ours was.
Why did he need a silencer?
His was just. Pew, 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 pew. It was like, holy shit, they're really.
Exactly what it is like.
But yeah, I asked myself the same question. What does this man need a silencer for? But
Maybe it was
I
like
would
a
assume
flex
hunting.
that he could. Oh yeah.
So you don't scare off anything else around the area. That would be my guess. I
No,
assume
it's
if you work in a
logical.
gun range or a hunt, you're going to be into hunting. I
Or
don't
you
know.
just want to try out all the gear.
It was the first time I ever shot a gun. I'd go up there
Yeah.
again. It was fun. Stress reliever, especially the shotgun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the clay pigeon shooting.
I'd
It
like
was
to try
fun.
that.
Yeah, I thought it'd be really, really hard, but once you kind of get it, you get it, like, and you hit it. One guy with us didn't miss one, and he'd never shot a gun in his life.
You sure?
He claims to have not have. He's from one of those countries, though, where I think they make you go to the army for a while, but he claims he wasn't.
Oh.
And he was just blowing him out of the
Lots of
sky.
video games.
Uh,
Lots of video games.
I do not cross him at work. But yeah, like we were saying, I think the production meeting definitely helped.
Yeah.
We got our shit together. And all we need is a producer, a proper producer. Like our very own Clem Fandango.
Oh yeah. I don't like Clem Fandango, so I don't want to Clem Fandango. He's the
Anyway,
most
it's
annoying.
Clem Fandango. Can you hear me? Oh, God. Oh, man, you were telling me, right? I never knew this. I always just thought it was on TV again. I think most things in my life, I hear stuff, it's just like, I just think that happens on TV. That's like, I notice I say that a lot in the show. I saw this on TV. I heard this on TV. I don't actually go anywhere.
According to South Park.
Yeah, for a very long time, South Park, Family Guy, American Dad, Simpsons, these were the things that educated me. And I stick by it with South Park. South Park is not a bad show. When we were kids, it was made out like it was this X-rated toilet humor show. When you look at it, it is teaching you how to be a good person. There's a lesson to be learned at the end of each show, and it's a genuine lesson. And usually it's like, the episode is an example of a bad person or doing a wrong thing, and by the end of the episode they have figured out why it is a wrong thing
I
or
would
why it is a
agree
bad
with
thing.
you.
So while you do use derogatory terms throughout the episode, they explain at the end why you shouldn't be doing that and why only assholes do that. So I feel like South Park actually taught our generation how to be better people.
No, I don't disagree with you there, but I think relying on South Park for genuine facts is a whole different matter.
Okay. I don't know. We'll agree to disagree.
I'm agreeing with you here. There's an add-on.
Well, anyway, Amy was telling me about her, like, so I just never look at my spam emails, right? I just assume it's just rubbish.
I'm
right?
afraid I'll miss something.
Every now and again, if I'm expecting something, I'll go and I'll have a quick glance
Yeah.
through just to make sure it's not gone in there. But you were telling me, like, that you get, like, all these, the stereotypical ones you see on TV, like all the
I'd
princes
be like a
and
billionaire
kings
like
and-
40 times over if they were all real.
But that's what I
Genuinely.
say to you. If you just answer them all back, if there's that many there, and one of them is real, we're set for life. We don't have to do anything else ever again.
I don't want €1 billion.
What?
I don't want €1 billion. That's what I'm saying. Like, so some of these emails are offering me €40 billion. I don't think if you think I'd want like 1 billion. I think
not?
a tiny bit under, but it just seemed that
Take it and give it some of it to charity. I don't know. Don't be turning your nose up at $1 billion. No thanks. No, if you offered me $1 million, you are a terrible haggler. If you don't want the rest of the money, give it to charities and keep the amount you want.
But I never said I wasn't going to take it off him.
You said you wouldn't want the $1 billion.
Yeah, but I never said how I was going to get rid of that $1 billion. You
Right,
jumped the
get
gun
on your
a
emails.
lot,
Come on.
like,
Right,
in
get on your
fairness.
emails. Let's start going through them. Find a
You go
legit one.
answer them back.
I'm sure there's an African prince there somewhere who's legit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then you were saying as well the ones that were really threatening to release your dirty history.
Yeah, and apparently videos of me watching that dirty history.
Well, again, I thought that was only in Black Mirror when the kid panics and he finds out that the camera's been watching him jack off the whole time.
They're real emails.
And that is something that would only bother someone that age as well. So that was well targeted.
Yeah, I've gotten a few, and I know they're all like worded the exact same, like from different places, but it's all that they're going to release those videos of me.
We were talking about it the last day, and when you were saying it, we were watching because obviously we made our little Clem Fandango joke a few minutes ago. So we found the Toast of London and the Toast of Tinseltown. We've been watching that, and that's hilarious. And we were talking about how good it would be to have Toast do the voiceover reading of one of your dirty porno emails, spam emails.
The dirty porno emails are the African prince offering me like millions of dollars.
Either right away. We got to get on Cameo, see you on there and pay him to do these voiceover for us.
I want to know how he pronounces pornography.
If we manage to find like some Cameo site with Matt Berry on it and he agrees to do this, when he comes on, if we could do a live one, when he comes on the screen, we are to be dressed as Clem Fandango and
I want to be Clem Fandango when he was in the standing soaker thing with all the ice around him.
Oh, fuck.
You can be, you can wear your man's hat, the fry-up hat. The one with the knitted beret with the rashes and eggs sticking out of it.
Oh, do you know what made me laugh the last time? That was when he went to the doctor and it was Dr. Harold Shipman. Any confusion? No, he's Shipman, I'm Shipman.
Would you change your name? I'd change my name.
Oh, fucking definitely.
Yeah.
I was wondering that though. Was there any fucking, in Germany, was there any Adolfs? Or was that name completely wiped out after Hitler?
I think Hitler might have just been wiped out after Hitler.
But
his relations in America changed their name.
I know there's Adolfs, but Adolf in particular. I think people are still frown about using that name.
Well, I presume Dolph is short for Adolf. Or Rudolph.
Don't know. I have to look it up.
What's Dolph Lundgren's full name? Is it just Dolph?
I think so.
What about Dolph Ziggler?
That's a fake name. What is his real name? I can't remember his real name though. But if my name was Harold Shipman and I was a doctor, I would change my name for professional reasons, 100%.
Definitely Harold Boatman.
Harold Trainman? Carmen.
Carmen's far enough away from his ship.
Sorry, Carl. Harold Space Rocket Man. Rocket Man, yes, Carl Rocket Man. Harold Rocket. Why do I keep calling him Carl?
Carmen, just not be Carmen.
Yeah.
That's a name already. All right.
No, we're going with Harold Rocket Man. That's what I changed my name to.
Oh, he's
complete
so cute.
opposite. I am not in the sea. I am in the sky.
The skies, no, they'll be on.
Oh, see, we got you. We got your conspiracy mind working there, Amy. The Harold Shipman conspiracy. He's in disguise. He's real. The Harold Rocket Man.
Oh God.
Well, it would make it far more interesting. We were only saying on Real Monsters yesterday when we were recording it that he is one of the most boring fucking angels of death ever.
No episode out of him.
No, not really. No. Not unless you want to. Oh, you can make a 10-minute fucking mini episode and Harold Shipman got sick of his patients, killed them off and moved on, and that's about it. Played a bit of golf, chilled out with the wife.
Did we not watch something
Got
about
arrested,
him,
hung
though?
himself. Huh?
Did we not watch something about him?
No, I think I put a documentary on it one day and I got bored after about 10 minutes and turned it off.
Says a lot, so.
Yeah. But speaking of angels of death, you got one for us today.
I do.
And I will admit, I know a little bit about this story.
What do you
I know
it?
about her ending because I'm a big fan of the true crime wink wink writer Stephen King. So I know a bit about the whole her kidnapping that other author.
Paul Sheldon.
Yeah.
For a minute, I thought that you were going to say that you were a fan of the romance writer.
No, I'm not a fan of Misery. But I did try and read one once. A bit too girly for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I prefer Stephen King's kind of telling of Paul Sheldon. Even Paul Sheldon's telling of what happened to himself was a bit exaggerated. So Stephen King's was nice and grounded and
We'll
kind of had
actually
the
touch on that,
facts. So.
about the exaggeration in his story.
Right, tell me about it. Tell me about it, because I didn't know a lot about her past.
Okay.
I really just know about what happened there and there. Bits and pieces about what happened there. What was in the book?
She's an interesting past, and there's loads of bodies. So.
Awesome. Right, go for it.
So, Annie Wilkes was born on the 1st of April in 1943 to Crisilda, who's also sometimes known as Nancy, and Carol Wilkes. So from the very beginning, she displayed signs of being a bit of a troubled human being. She was homeschooled very early on by her father due to her anger issues. And she used to be bullied in elementary school due to her extreme dyslexia. And one day she actually got into trouble for smashing the head of a girl who had been bullying her into her lunchbox.
Well, that's not that bad. That happened to me. I deserved it though. It was, and we ended up being friends afterwards, so it wasn't all that bad. But we were in, must have been in like junior or senior or something like that. It was an early on, like in school. But Rory Fry got his ear pierced. So we were all slagging him about it, and then I started taking the piss out of him while we were waiting for the bus. And that little prick had a fucking metal lunchbox, and I got it right upside the head, and that was my first black eye.
Yeah. You see, in my head, Annie probably repeatedly.
Oh no, it
smashed
was
her
one
head,
smack, and it was over, and we were friends after that, and that was it.
Men are crazy. So it's important to point out, though, that Annie, while she didn't have a very bad start to life, she didn't have the best start to life. Her mother was very mentally unstable to the point that she actually even tried to kill Annie in an attempted murder-suicide. But we'll touch on that again a bit later.
See, that's a lot like when we were talking about Danny Rowling in Real Monsters, the first episode. He found his mother trying to commit suicide, and then he went out and tried to do it and tried copying the mother again. And we see it obviously with Billy and Nancy, and later on when we cover Norman Bates, there's a lot of this mother-child kind of craziness. Yeah. So forensic psychologist Dr. Marie Reid Malloy has said that Annie had a virtual catalogue of mental illness. According to Dr. Malloy, Annie suffered from bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder with schizotypal and obsessive compulsive and sadomasochistic features. He also believed that her profile was typical of people that stalked celebrities. It's very like again Nancy in the Ghostface series. That's almost identical to the list of problems I said she had. And technically, when you think back on it now, she was stalking Gail like for the longest time before she went and did what she did. So
exactly,
there's connections there.
Yep.
Everything connects to Ghostface. Ghostface cult. See, we said at the first episode, we joked that we'd start building this series on the Ghostface fucking cult. We're now building on it. Slowly but surely, the cult theory is growing.
I'm just pointing out you're getting a bit obsessed at this stage, so
it'd be like Charlie with the strings on the board from It's Always Sunny.
So Annie also appeared to have psychosis, psychopathy and schizophrenia. She experienced extreme mood swings, which are a strong symptom of borderline personality disorder, and severe bouts of depression, which sometimes lasted for a day or more. She also displayed extreme paranoia. I mean, Annie clearly inherited her mother's mental disorders. So it's said that she actually set fire to her neighbour's house at the age of 13, killing 3 kids, their father and their baby cousin.
Holy shit.
Yeah, allegedly she got tired of the children's bratty ways while she was babysitting.
This was just a way of getting rid of an annoyance.
Yeah, she didn't want to have to be babysitting. Or they deserved it.
She just got sick of him and set him on fire.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. People were expendable.
Hey Annie, let's be friends.
No, thank you. Annie's father, Carl, was a writer and would call Annie his #1 fan. So he'd let Annie transcribe his books from pen and paper to typewrite, which was supposed to help Annie's learning to read, to get her head around.
So it's like an early explanation to her later motives, maybe?
I would say so.
Obviously, this wraps right back around to the Paul Sheldon story later.
100%. So, because they were a bit unsuccessful in caring for Annie's education and mental well-being into her teenage years, her mother hired a tutor to help Annie named Rita Green.
Oh, what age is this Rita? And would you say she is relatively attractive?
I think about 28.
Oh, to quote Star Wars, I've got a bad feeling about this.
I'm a fucking nerd. Well, in time, Rita did gain Annie's trust and she provided the care that Annie had lacked from the mother and father. And Annie's behaviour did improve. But this was short-lived as Rita betrayed Annie's trust by having an affair with her father.
Call it! Fucking nerd, you.
Eventually, Nancy found out about the affair and filed for divorce, and that's when her mental state really started to decline. And that's when she attempted a murder-suicide by driving into a lake with Annie in the car.
I don't know why. Of all the gruesome shit I watch on TV, anytime I see somebody, like a woman, a mother driving into a lake with her kids, always creeps me out. Always makes me uncomfortable. I love South Park, but that my brother's favourite episode, or brother's own episode where his mom does that with him, that episode seems so dark and so creepy and seedy to me. It's so weird. I love watching it, but it's
looks dark.
The tone is so fucking
So thankfully Annie survived, but Nancy succeeded.
Just like Butters. Good job, Nancy.
Did Butters' mom die?
No, she ends up getting out of the car. She decides to go home and kill herself. She's just killing him in the lake.
Oh, okay.
She's about to hang herself and the father comes in the door and
I remember that. Yeah, I remember it. So,
see, dark fucking episode.
Annie's mental instability also worsened when her father, in her view at least, replaced Annie, his #1 fan, with Rita and their newborn daughter Evangeline, who was born out of the affair.
So this girl with rejection anxiety, this is the same girl who burnt down a house full of people out of annoyance, right? Yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah. Sure, this is all going to end very peacefully for Papa Wilkes and his lovely new family.
Well, Annie's relationship with her father did eventually culminate in his death. On publishing his new novel, Carl decided to dedicate the book to Rita instead of to Annie. So they think that Annie pushed Carl down the stairs after having an argument with him.
Good. Looks like an accident.
Well,
good first kill, Annie. Nice job.
Yeah, the official cause of death for her father was multiple skull fractures and broken neck.
Accident.
But then Annie stabbed Rita to death and kidnapped Evangeline.
God damn it, Annie. Rookie mistake. You were getting away with it and then you stab up another one. You see that just getting overexcited. Greedy. Yep. Greedy killing, that is.
Absolutely.
So what does she do with the kid?
So the cops followed Annie's followed Annie and Evangeline's trail to the same lake that Annie's mother drove into, and they found some articles of clothing there, but that's
just went cold.
Just went cold. They searched the lake, but they never found any bodies. And then the next time Annie shows up on record is when she was in college, but by that stage she was out of date and out of sight, and without Evangeline.
See, that's the thing back then, like as soon as, because of there being no internet, no central kind of communication system, and because the cops seemed to, I never understood that, why they were all in competition with each other over in America.
It's when you see it on TV and they're like, this is my case.
But that's it, state to state they're fighting with each other, fucking district to district within the states they're fucking fighting with each other. So it's like, outside your own community, it's next to impossible to get information on crime.
But is it because in America, like, you'd associate some crimes, like you'd know the cops working on the crimes, they'd be big names, but like over here, like,
No idea.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
really.
get that.
I know it's all stats and funding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's the biggest problem when you look at America. It's such a businessy kind of country. So if your stats aren't good, you're not making money, you're not producing it.
And if your stats not good, they're just going to close the whole precinct and there'll be no cops, and then
loads of Annie Wilkes running around the place doing whatever the fuck they want.
yep. So for the next few years after that, Annie kept to herself and eventually graduated from nursing school in 1966. So during her time in college, she is suspected of killing her roommate, Andrea St. James. At the time, it was suspected to be an accident, and officially she fell over her cat, known as Peter Gunn, and hit her head and died.
Has anybody questioned this cat? Maybe he had something to do with it. She fell over the cat, maybe the cat tripped her.
Interestingly, the cat also disappears from the records at this time.
So he couldn't talk. Oh, Annie getting rid of
Exactly,
the
poisoning the cat.
witnesses. That cat's got to go.
So
That was too
after
much.
Annie's arrest, which we'll talk about later, officers began looking into suspicious deaths from her past, and they now suspect that this one was murder.
So they cleared the good name of, what was it again, Peter Gunn?
Peter Gunn.
Cleared the good name of Peter Gunn. Rest in peace, brother. You were a good cat.
That he was.
Unless you were the guy who influenced Keira Knightley's weird stalker who meows outside her door. Did you
There's a
know
link.
that the Dead Kennedys' first few albums, the producer credit is a cat? They couldn't decide on who would be the producer or who'd get the producer credit, or they didn't want to be fighting over it or whatever, so there was a cat in the studio, so they gave the cat the production credit. And for years later, like, people would be coming up to them asking other artists, like, you know, oh man, can we get in with that producer you got? Can we get in with that? And they'd be like, yeah, we'll make you an appointment to talk to them. But it was always just the cat.
And does the cat get paid for it? Did it get royalties?
What
can it do?
The reason the Dead Kennedys don't have their lead singer with them anymore is because of him not paying them their royalties. So I don't reckon the cat was getting shit.
That was a smart move.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. You like the podcast? Want some more? Then head on over to our Patreon page, where for just €5 a month you get up to 12 extra shows in that month, along with piles of minisodes covering fun facts from the world of horror and true crime. Each week we drop multiple shows such as Real Monsters, where we look at the inspiration behind the movie Killers, or Behind the Mask, where we take a look at the influential people and happenings in the world of Hollywood. All this, plus movie reviews, watch-alongs, and regular AMAs. That means ask me anything. You really do get a bang for your buck. And by bang, I mean like podcast. I'm not soliciting or anything. Shit. Moving on. For just €5 a month, all this could be yours. So head on over to www.patreon.com/IAApod. That's www.patreon.com/IAApod, and start listening now.
After graduating, she took up her first nursing job in St. Joseph's Hospital. Okay, so while at St. Joseph's Hospital, Ernest Gagne and Hester Bolafont, both under Annie's care, died in March 1969.
So this is the start of her official
The
body
start
count.
where you start to see
The ones
bodies.
that have been proven to be her.
Proven or almost
certain.
certain, yeah. So Ernest was 79 and Hester was 84, and both of them died of a long-term illness. Two more unnamed patients, for which the details haven't been made available to the public, died under her care in September and October of 1969.
Does that mean they were young? Or does it just mean there was just some vulnerability there that they couldn't?
I think these patients are, I think at the start, the patients were all older.
They were all older.
The vast majority were older at the very start.
I wonder if they had the same rules as, do you know how, like, here, if you're underage, you get your anonymity. Thank you, Amy. But you get that. And it's up to you if you want to let people know who you are or what in those type of cases.
Yeah.
I wonder does the same apply then when someone's older and they have dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, since they're now a vulnerable person, do they instantly become anonymous again? Without the say of the family or without the say of...
I'm not sure, but what I'm wondering is, are
medical
the
records,
unnamed patients the patients that maybe... Oh, almost certainly.
But what, they were trying to cover them up a bit?
No, but as in because they can't say that these patients have 100% been killed by Annie Wilkes.
Oh, okay. Suspected.
Suspected,
Most
that's what
likely,
I'm
but
wondering.
can't prove.
Yeah, so that's why maybe they kept the details back for that reason.
Yeah, maybe.
So in late 1969, 2 more unnamed men died of long illness, and Paulette Simo died in early 1970 of short illness, again under her care.
And at that stage, would that be abnormal, like that amount of people, that amount of elderly people in hospital dying under her care? Would people be paying attention yet? Would they be starting to look into reasons for why these people were dying? Or would it just be a case of, at the time, they're old, they're in hospital, it's natural, that's what happens, move on out? Like, I mean, this is what, the 60s, 70s?
Yeah, well, there's that, but like the majority of the patients that died under her care in St. Joseph's Hospital were long illnesses as well.
So it was expected.
It would have been expected. Yeah. In 1970, Anne took up her second nursing job in Riverview Hospital as an ICU nurse. And again, patients under her care start to die. An elderly male patient dies of a long illness. Another elderly male dies of short illness. And a comatose 3-year-old dies after being admitted after falling down a well. So again, they're all vulnerable patients.
I will ask. Did Annie kill that baby, or did the well kill that kid? See, could they really hold her on that one when the kid was comatose coming in? Like, there's a good chance like that something could have just went wrong, or was it just a case of they could prove?
They could probably prove.
Yeah.
Do you know what? They could have had
if they're
him
listing
stable.
it, there must be a reason for it.
Yeah.
It's so hard as well. They're kind of like, because we know she didn't exactly get to talk and tell what happened in her own words. You're going off of investigation. You never get the confession, like, you know.
Oh yeah, exactly. So between her time at Riverview Hospital in 1978, Annie led a kind of nomadic life working at Pittsburgh and Duluth and Fargo hospitals. We do know that a number of the deaths at these hospitals have since been attributed to Annie, but again, no details of these have been released to the public. Actually, her landlord at the time was also found dead in his home, and the cause of death was a severed spinal cord. And do you know what the murder weapon was?
Yeah.
An ice cream scoop. Apparently.
Why the ice cream scoop? Why an ice cream? Was she just making ice cream at the time and she just decided?
No idea. Apparently it was jammed down the throat of the victim, striking the spinal cord until it snapped. So it was considered a home invasion. No one was ever charged with the murder.
Oh, she went to his house?
It was in his house.
I don't know why. I just imagined that he called over to give her shit because of him being the landlord, you know, owning the house.
We do know, though, from her landlord's neighbours that Annie had a run-in with him, arguing over rent just days prior to his death. So maybe the cops didn't think he was a likely suspect.
So it wraps right back around to the dead Kennedys.
What?
They have a song called, is it Lynch the Landlord?
Ooh, Annie Wilkes was inspired by the dead Kennedys.
Well, no, because that's the 70s and the dead Kennedys wouldn't be around till the 80s. They could be inspired by her.
Fucking nerd. In 1978, Annie began working in Denver Hospital. And in September, Laura D. Rothberg died of long illness under Annie's care.
Oh, he sounds rich. She sounds rich.
Yeah, again, I think she was
Is that racist? Is she Jewish? Is that racist? I just thought of the Rothschilds when you said Rothberg, to be honest.
Oh, I thought you were going off the name Laura.
No. I was going off the Rothschild fucking conspiracy thing.
Well, it sounds like a posh name. Yeah. So then the deaths under Annie's care stopped for a while. Interestingly, this coincides with Annie meeting Ralph Duggan, a physiotherapist. So the pair had a bit of a whirlwind romance and married in January 1979 in Denver and then settled down in Sidewinder.
See, that's not that uncommon. I mean, the BTK killer, he stopped for ages, and it was kind of coinciding with his family life getting busier and, you know, just him getting a bit older. But they reckon as well he got a job as a kind of parks compliance officer. So he'd be a dog catcher and one of these guys who gives out you for your lawn being
Like in
too
the
long.
Parks and Rec department.
Oh, this guy's a prick. Like, he's out there telling you. The guy you were always saying, I couldn't live in America because of these people. The people tell you,
Homeowners Association.
the colour of your house is wrong. That's the wrong. You can't have that plant. You know, your grass is too long. You know, all this kind of shit. So that was his job and he loved it, and that kind of satisfied his sadistic needs for a while. But same with the Golden State Killer, as soon as his kids were born, I think he only has like 1 or 2 deaths attributed to him after his kids were born, and one of those deaths, one of his last deaths, is very close to the birth of his second daughter, and then he just stops. So I mean, family life for some of them does, but I suppose it puts a block in it because it's harder for them to do what they were doing with a family life with kids, with schedules and all that.
That makes them seem more evil, that it wasn't like a thing that's wrong in their head. It was like 100% a conscious decision that, I'm just going to stop now. Well, it's like having a child and deciding to stop smoking, because you've had a child. Like it's just
pretty much.
So
well, obviously, yeah, there has to be deeper stuff in there, but yeah, they do have the ability to control it to some degree.
To some degree, yeah.
The thing about it is they don't have the emotion or the sense of giving a shit to make the decision to stop. It just has to become an inconvenience, That's the only way that they're going to stop, is when it's like, well, no, it's inconvenient for me to kill. Because again, those two guys' cases, they were getting older. So now they're getting older, it's harder to fucking do what they were doing. People can fight back, people get the better of them. Technology is getting better. This isn't the 70s anymore. They can get caught very, very easily with very little DNA evidence or whatever. So, the risk outweighs the reward. Now you have a family to take care of. They just end up, like we do, normal people do with hobbies. It's like a hobby that they just put to the side, like, for a while.
Yeah. So just over 18 months after getting married, Ralph filed for divorce from Annie, citing mental cruelty.
See, that's the other side of it. Both those guys, although they gave up to a degree, ended up going back. It's like there is an urge there at the end of the day. Because BTK, it took him, years and years, I think it might have been 20 years, 40, it was the 40th anniversary or something like that of his killings. And some guy wrote a book, an article about him, but wrote some wrong stuff, and he got pissy and started writing to them and started threatening them that he'd start killing people again. And then he kind of got the high again of communicating with the police back and forth, and technology caught him.
Of course it was, yeah.
I mean, the Golden State Killer now, and he's fair. As bad as he was doing at that point, it was making phone calls to his. So, like, his survivors, or the women he raped and didn't kill, he would continue to ring them over years, like. Do you know, where there's randomly they'd pick up the phone, like, it's like something out of the Ghostface series. He'd pick up the phone, and he's just on the other. I might put a clip of it on this, I'm not sure yet, but it's like him just basically going, you're a bitch, I'm gonna fucking kill you, I'm gonna find you, I'm gonna kill you, oh, you're a bitch. That's all he'd be saying. He'd be gone again, and a couple of years later they could change their numbers, they could change where they live. He was still watching them, like.
You never catch me, you scary rapist, you dumb fuckers, I'm gonna fuck again tonight, be careful.
So that was his thing. He just wasn't doing anything about it, like, So obviously Annie was eventually going to go back to her normal nature, or the way she gets shit done, like,
exactly. So after the divorce, the killings start again at a way more frequent rate. So 3 unnamed patients die in May 1981 of long illness. 3 more patients die in June 1981 of long illness. And mid to late 1981, 7 more patients die. 3 of short illness and 4 of long illness. So that makes 13 patients in about 6 months.
So when you say long and short, you mean like long as in someone who's cancer or something who's been sick for a very long time, and short illness is like someone who just suddenly died in her care who shouldn't have died.
Short illness could be pneumonia, but like, as in, it was still going to be someone
basically
that had
someone who came in suddenly and she took an opportunity as quick as she could to
exactly. So, but to help cope with her divorce, Annie discovered these misery novels, romance novels by Paul Sheldon, and she completely lost herself in them, especially latching on to the main character, Misery Chastain. So she became deeply invested in her love life and her backstory, even going so far as to name her pig Misery, her pet pig. Yeah. So Annie actually moved to Boulder when she found out that Paul wrote his books there. In January 1982, Annie became chief obstetric nurse in Boulder Hospital, Colorado. And this is where things really start to catch up with Annie. So between January to July 1982, 10 unnamed infant patients died due to tainted formula.
Oh, what's tainted formula? Just making it wrong or not sterilising the stuff?
Could be either tainted formula, it could be both. Like she could be doubling up or tripling.
And is that enough at that age for a baby? Like, you know.
Oh, for that sterilising?
Any of that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's that, they're that fragile. And they go,
Yeah.
I forget, like, we have 2 of these things, but they never seem that fragile to me.
No, they're fragile. Yup.
Well, they did when they were tiny, but it still wouldn't be thinking like, oh, if I give them too much milk or not enough, not enough milk, it's just they won't stop crying. You just have to feed them more.
Could have something mixed with the formula as well, like, you know. But 2 of the infants had severe birth defects. Now, I don't know if that kind of plays into it, was something that was mentioned at the time.
Well, again, we've said like the angel of death thing is they feel like they're putting you out of your misery. Like,
well, yeah.
I know with Annie that doesn't play into it as much. I mean,
not
Annie's
as much,
more
but
of
I suppose it could still be a factor for her.
Annie'd kill just because you annoyed her and you're in her fucking way, like, you know, or
she loves you too much.
But but the angel of death side of her then would be like, oh well, these poor babies, they're sick. They're better off not to be here and not to be suffering.
Exactly. But obviously, if there's a spike in the death of infants in a hospital, there's going to be more eyebrows raised than if there was a spike in elderly patients. Yeah. So Annie was tried for the death of these 11 infants, but was eventually acquitted due to lack of evidence.
Oh, so she covered the tracks.
She covered her tracks, and
This is where she gets the cool name, though, isn't it?
Exactly. So she was dubbed the Dragon Lady by the press.
Telling you now, Annie, you need to she should have give up the nursing and went to wrestling. Annie the Dragon Wilkes.
In a tag team with Awesome Cow.
I wouldn't mind around if she got in there around the 80s. Vince McMahon would have been all about the nurse gimmick. It was all vocation gimmicks back then. You were a plumber, you were a builder, you were a dentist. So the dragon nurse Annie Wilkes. They would have based her on you on from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and went with that.
Oh yeah.
She could have fucking been a valet for Kane when he was the Isaac Yankem character, the dentist.
Oh,
Yankem. The MD.
So because she was dubbed the Dragon Lady by the press, it kind of implied guilt to everyone. And her career obviously was
She got her serial killer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So she was forced to retire. And the killings died down quite a lot during her retirement, but not completely.
Retired from nursing, but just semi-retired from killing.
Exactly. A tiny bit more than semi-retired.
Come back for the odd special occasion visit.
Exactly. So in mid to late October 1984, Andrew Pomeroy, a former painter and lover of Annie's, was found mutilated at the age of 23.
And was she done for this? Or is this just assumed now because he was killed?
Exactly. It's because of the link.
Because he was around her and it makes sense that, you know, what are the chances? It's like that old joke. So a guy's hitchhiking and eventually after a few hours a guy pulls in, picks him up and they're driving down the road and he turns to him and he says, I'm surprised you picked me up. A lot of people are worried about serial killers out here on this road. And the guy driving turned to him and said, well, I knew it would be strange for 2 serial killers to be in the same car.
What would you do in that situation?
Punch him and jump and roll out the fucking car.
Or would you hold tough and be like, I agree with you and let on that you're a serial killer too?
That's how like 1 or 2 people got away from Ted Bundy. Definitely one girl.
What? Let on that she was a serial killer?
No. But rolled out of the car. Like they were in the car. She was struggling. It was one of the times he pretended to be a cop and he was taking her somewhere. And she clicked and she fucking like opened the door and rolled the fuck out. Like,
how did she click?
He pulled over and he started fucking screaming and trying to get her back in the car. But when people started noticing, obviously he gave up, got in the car and drove off.
Christ.
But yeah, she just said the tuck and roll.
Okay, it's honesty time. We have a confession to make. We suck at socials, no good at Insta, can't send a tweet or an X or whatever that super villain looking motherfucker is calling it now. Stick to your space cars, Elon. But we know ye want to chat. You want to be kept updated. You want to be alive all the goddamn time. So we're getting down from the antisocial soapbox and giving this a try. So come chat to us on Insta and Twitter at AliveAlivePod, or hit us up by email at itsalivaalivepod@gmail.com. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. This is a project. It's still a work in progress, and we just want to give you more what you like and less of what you can't stand. So give us a like, give us a follow. We'll always hit you back, and we'll always try to reply to everyone. So come say hi. We don't bite. Well, at least Amy doesn't. And she keeps me well fed, so you got nothing to worry about. Now, back to the show.
In 1984, Dwayne Kushner, a young officer, went missing while he was investigating the case of Andrew Pomeroy. So blood samples were taken from the lawnmower found in Annie's basement during the rescue of Paul Sheldon, and they were matched to Andrew Pomeroy.
So what, she just like took the old mower, stuck it in the corner and hit it? Because I knew I've read the book about Paul Sheldon, and I know that she liked to kind of just bury her head in the sand with certain stuff.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just a case of, I think I've heard about this. She put the lawnmower in the basement, put a tarp over, bought a new lawnmower, and then just pretended like that one didn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
And then that's how they linked her, isn't it?
Yep.
Silly Annie. Don't keep evidence around the house.
And then in 1987, Annie meets Paul Sheldon, and this is the story that she is most famous for.
Meets, is that what we're calling it?
Nice, friendly meeting. And as we said, Anne had become obsessed with the Misery novels and with Paul Sheldon, even moving to Boulder.
She was like using them in her defence and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. She was like quoting them in her court case.
Oh, yeah. So she did actually used to stalk Paul, often sitting outside his hotel room, hoping to catch a glimpse of him, and often followed him in her car.
He never noticed.
Nope. And it was on one such occasion that Paul wrecked his car during a blizzard near Annie's home. So Paul had been driving home at the time after having finished his new novel, unaware of the approaching blizzard. Mm-hmm. So Annie, being the nursing type, and I'm
just about to say, look, your nurse was following.
Oh, well, I use that term loosely. Rescued Paul from the wreck and brought him to her house. And Paul's injuries, they weren't life-threatening, but they were pretty painful. So he had 2 broken legs and a dislocated shoulder. Annie offered to care for him until the phone lines reopened, and both, she told him, were out of action due to the blizzard.
You'd have to believe that, because I mean, it was months before they found his car.
Yeah, exactly. So like, they were obviously waiting for the thaw.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
That amount of snow wasn't going to be that
we
fast.
don't know, we just get shitty snow over here. We get like one day of good snow, and then it's just
one day of good snow every few years, maybe. Yeah, not every year. No, every few years. After that, it's just slush. Ice and grey slush. So Annie was actually even able to offer him Novelist type of painkiller for his pain, but Paul actually had the good foresight that instead of taking the medication, he had actually started to stash them away, because I think he kind of got the feeling from her from the start.
That there was something wrong.
Something off with her.
Well, I suppose you'd have to. I mean, like, you'd almost feel the tension in the air, I suppose, when she's there and they're interacting with each other. Someone you don't know, they're taking care of you. You don't even if there wasn't a violent tone to it or a scared tone to it, you'd still kind of be uptight and a bit tense in a situation where you're in a new surroundings, you're in a weird situation,
and you're completely incapacitated,
and you're trusting this woman that you've never met before, like, you know.
Exactly. So while she was caring for him, Annie actually noticed that Paul's new manuscript that he had gone off to Boulder to finish, called Fast Cars, was in his bag, and out of thanks, Paul let her read it. I don't think Paul actually realised how freaking odd she was until she actually read the script. Yeah. So Paul's use of bad language in the script highly offended Annie, and she flew into a massive rage with Paul. Yeah,
I remember reading this in the Stephen King true crime book, Misery, and apparently she did not like cursing. That she'd like replace words like cursing with a cock-a-doodie was one. And heavens to Betsy, that was a big one. Oh God, that was another one.
Proper
she
rage words.
And if she, and apparently, like Paul said, if she cursed, he said that she only cursed like once or twice in his presence, but if she cursed, there was trouble. Like, so I mean, it ain't gonna get any better from here, people.
Nope. So one evening during his stay with Annie, she came back from town with the last novel in the Misery series entitled Misery's Child that she hadn't read yet. Which, how big a fan was she if she hadn't read his last book yet?
But it hadn't come out yet.
Oh, hadn't
that
it?
was the release date of it.
Ah.
He was in there. They had been waiting, obviously, because back then everything doesn't move as fast. There's no digital release and all that.
Obviously,
There's,
yeah.
you know, the making of the book, printing of the book, releasing of the book. He was writing the new book while the marketing and the production of the last Misery book was happening.
Oh, fair
So
enough.
that got released while
He
he
was
was missing.
Okay. So according to Paul, when she was reading the book, she showered him with praise until she found out that Misery had been killed off by Paul, dying in childbirth. Obviously, that didn't sit well with Annie, and she confronted Paul and she threatened to hit him with the side table, smashing it over his headboard instead, so narrowly missing him.
But she held back that time.
She held back that time.
managed
She
to
didn't
keep it
actually
cool.
hurt
To a
him.
degree.
Yeah. She also informed him that she had not told a soul, no doctors, his publisher, nobody, that he was actually in the house with her.
So this is when things get proper tense. She knows
Proper
he's
tense.
fucked.
Oh
like,
yeah, and she knew things were tense as well because she got into her car and she drove off for a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So when she drove off, Paul took the opportunity to try and break out. But when he finally managed to get himself over to the bedroom door, he realised that it was locked and he collapsed, passed out.
Well, this would have still been early on after his injuries, and that's
Oh,
not
yeah.
that long into it. So I mean,
Probably collapsed from the strain of getting over there, like.
like I said to you last night when we were talking about this, after I had my motorbike accident and fucked up my foot, and the thought of putting your foot in the ground, like it was,
yeah.
you know, it was pain, agony. So you imagine two smashed fucking legs, and
And you're not even taking your painkillers
it's
either.
like, so that's it. You're feeling all of that, like.
Well, Paul said that the next thing that he remembers after that is being put back into the bed by Annie, seemingly in a far better mood when she returned. She just needs to blow off some steam. She told him that she needed to burn the manuscript for fast cars, as it was what she described as filth because of the swearing. Yeah.
But didn't she like put a bit of a fucking religious spin on all of this at this point?
Oh, yeah,
She started
yeah.
getting all high and mighty with this is what God wants, and God wants you to rid the world of this filth and this kind of shit.
Yep. So Sheldon has said that Annie took the view that God had sent her to help him, and then that this was the first step by burning the script.
Just saying that from what I've heard of this story so far, this seems to be the first sign of her being overly religious. There hasn't been much talk of her being like I said last week with Howie and the Sergeant Howie and the Wicker Man cult. The big issue there was he was super religious, and that's what brought him to his end.
Yeah, but if she was super obsessed with Paul, and she can kind of see she's trying every kind of angle around her. That's it. Yeah.
Well, like you asked me yesterday when you were researching it, if I thought like Annie meant to take care of Paul from the start, or if she had plans to hold him there and to keep him. And I said to you, is like, it seems like with Annie, it's like she kind of goes in with the best of intentions, but maybe a fantasy in her head. And I think she believed that by taking care of Paul Sheldon and being close to him, that he might fall in love with her and she'd have the perfect wife and perfect husband.
Yeah.
And then once the wheels start falling off, I'd say that, you know, once you realise, and I'd say this was the big point, is when he kills Misery, is almost like killing that dream for her. And now he's seen her dark side, so there's a bit of a downward spiral, and the tension gets more, and then she gets worse, and so yeah.
Exactly. So after a while, when Paul was well enough to get out of bed, Annie brought him a table. So that she put the table into his room beside the window, and she also supplied him with a typewriter, which Paul has stated in interviews that it happened to be missing the N button. So he was writing the script with no ends. And she told him that he was going to write her a new Misery novel to correct the mistake that was Misery's death.
So he wanted a retcon. She decided this thing wasn't canon anymore.
Nope.
It's like a Star Wars fucking fan after the new movies came out.
Oh, exactly.
It's like, and they did this as well when the prequels came out. It's just like, we're just going to pretend this never happened and do it again. And it was like, George looks like, no, fuck it. Just give me your money and move on with it, you fucking nerds.
Maybe George Lucas and Annie should team up. She also brought Paul a ream of paper, but this paper Paul said was known for smudging. So he told Annie anyway that it would smudge, but she for the life of her couldn't understand how this paper would smudge, because she told Paul that this was the most expensive paper in the shop, like she had paid the most for it. And
we all know people like that.
yeah, we all know people like
How
that.
could that be that I spent this much money on it, that much money on it? Fuck right
Go
off.
away. Mine looks prettier. So she eventually did agree to go and get Paul the new paper, but not before dropping the ream of paper that she got Paul into Paul's lap. which Paul said did considerable pain. Yeah.
Did she do it out of anger, or did she just kind of throw it kind of casually, drop it on him?
Oh no, I'd say it was. I'm going to do this, but fuck you. So he did get her out of the house, but it was all a bit of a ruse, as Paul had found a bobby pin on the floor and he wanted to get Annie out of the house so that he could try and escape.
See, I never understood this, why he was trying to escape, because from what I have read, Annie's house was in the middle of fucking nowhere. Where is this guy going to go with his 2 broken legs? You know, it's like she's going to find him outside the door, passed out in the cold.
But that's it, like,
you're not going to get far,
like he does manage to get out of the bedroom, but he doesn't manage to get out of the house at all.
No, I wouldn't think so.
No. But he did take a bit of a wander through the house though, and he said what he said he found was a drugstore in her closet and dozens of packets of that novel that she'd been given him.
So she had like a stash of painkillers.
Oh yeah, not just painkillers. There was like he said, there was a whole load of bottles.
Medical cabinet, like.
Yeah, exactly.
And why didn't he just call for help at this point himself? He's out, he's about, there's a phone, there's just
there was a phone in the sitting room, but the phone was gutted.
Oh, so
there's
it's
nothing,
just decorated.
that's it, there was nothing in the phone. So she could be, maybe she did fool herself. Maybe she was in her head that she was sitting down trying the phone thinking, oh, the lines are cut. Like maybe she was that.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Paul kind of, bided his time writing and showering Annie in compliments to try and keep her in a good mood, and occasionally he ventured out of his room when he could while Annie was out of the house. He was writing his novel the whole time, and every time he said that he had a chapter finished, Annie was keeping up reading the chapter behind him.
But surely this couldn't have been any good. He must have been just fucking writing for the sake of fucking writing.
No, Annie was kind of on the ball there with quality control, making sure that he was turning out a decent misery novel. Standard, yeah. And then because of that, she was full of praise for him. He was, great writing. So kind of riding off Annie's good mood, Paul invited her for dinner. Right, but that it wasn't out of friendship or anything like that. He was trying to poison Annie by slipping her.
He wasn't getting the Stockholm syndrome.
No, not at all. He was, do you know the Novril capsules that he had been? Yes, he was trying to slip her the contents of the capsules, which he actually managed to do, but he didn't manage to poison her. There was a candle on the table for the dinner.
Yeah.
And that had been knocked over, and obviously it was candles. So Annie went to pick up the candle, and she knocked the wine at the same time.
Oh, so he put the stuff in the wine?
Oh, he got the stuff into the wine. Yeah, okay. But she knocked it unknowingly back out. So, yeah. Imagine that, waiting for it to take a sip and then it's gone.
Do you feel like she might have known? That seems like such a coincidence that the one time he makes an attempt at her and it's such a random thing like a glass and she manages to knock it over. Do you think she had been watching it? She was that kind of sly, and playing a game, or is she too unstable to play that kind of game? No,
I think Paul has mentioned that he had asked her to go get that candle to give himself an opportunity. Yeah. So it's hard to tell. She could easily have had some. I think if you're in that situation yourself, if you're as smart as, not as smart, but if you're as cunning as her when it comes to things like that, I think that you have to be aware that there's a threat there to you also.
But the mood swings she'd have, because she was known for going up and down and up and down, depression and all this kind of stuff. If she thought suddenly that this guy that she loved is keeping these tablets for nefarious reasons, it might bring her mood down instead of up, whereas she'd have dinner with him. So maybe she didn't know. I don't know. It's something we're never going to know, really.
No. One night, not long after the dinner, Paul said that Annie came into his room very depressed and began talking about how his legs are nearly better and that she was afraid that he was going to leave her once the ankles healed.
Yeah, well, duh, Annie.
Obviously. And that's when she took out a gun. And told Paul that she sometimes thinks about using it, and then she drove off again for a while. Yeah,
so Paul, you gotta be starting to get worried at this point.
Exactly. So he really did realise that the time came to kind of put some serious thought into getting out of the house, like any sane person would have. So he broke out of his room again, and on this occasion Paul actually came across a scrapbook in her sitting room containing newspaper cutouts relating to victims that had died in her care.
So on top of everything else, he's seen her in her age, he's seen her in her depression, and now he's seen the scrapbook that shows she's pretty much a serial killer.
Yep. So that's probably what made him decide to grab a knife from the knife block in the kitchen.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. If you're not able to
get out of the house, you grab a knife. So according to Paul, he hid the knife in the sling on his arm and he lay in bed waiting for Annie to come home, but instead of going in to check on him, she went straight upstairs to her room. So he thought he was safe for the night, and he put his knife in under his mattress and he went to sleep.
Okay.
But the next morning, Paul said that when he woke up, he found himself strapped to the bed.
Well, it's a person like Annie. She's going to notice that knife missing.
Oh, yeah.
The minute she got home, she looked at that block, she would know the knife is missing. She'd be meticulous that way.
Oh, definitely. She probably has stock all the time, every night. Paul reckons from the way he felt in himself that morning that Annie must have drugged him in the middle of the night. And obviously, I mean, if you're in that much pain with broken legs and you're being strapped to a bed, you have to be out cold.
So
yeah, exactly.
Wake him and give him a little shot while he was asleep or something.
Oh, yeah. So either way, Annie had found out about his excursions because of a misplaced figurine in the sitting room, which had been knocked out of place. So you're dead right about the knives. Yeah.
And she definitely spot the knife missing, so.
Yup. So in order to stop him from wandering again, she placed a piece of 16-inch 4x4 wood between Paul's ankles and smashed each ankle with a sledgehammer, crushing the bones in his ankles.
Fucking hell.
So this was a punishment that was used in the early days of the Kimberley diamond mine. Like, it's been used throughout history, but most recently in the Kimberley diamond mines. And it's how they dealt with workers who stole diamonds. So it's known as hobbling, and it was meant to, they could keep working, but they couldn't feck off with the diamonds.
You keep saying that to me when you were researching it. How the fuck do you keep working in that state?
You drag yourself around. Your ankles will heal, but they won't heal properly. You know, so you're not going to be able to run away. You can keep working like your arms are working. That's the way that'd be.
And this is like the blood diamond kind of mine places.
Yeah, Africa. Yup. So after the new Misery had been finished, and after about 6 months of captivity by Annie, a Colorado state trooper by the name of Buster discovered Sheldon in Wilkes' house.
To be fair to him, it is kind of cool how he ended up at her door. He was a pretty good cop in all fairness. He was determined to find Paul Sheldon one way or the other. I mean, to the point where like he went away and he read the Misery books.
He did.
Just to see if he could get an insight into Paul, like, you know?
Yeah.
And then when he went to talk to the local call him bookshop, what do we call him?
Convenience store guy?
It was a small town, so the guy that sold the books in that town, along with other bits of anything and everything. I mean, Buster asked him about Superfans straight away, like, Annie was the first name to come up. Like, she was there, pre-ordered, copy waiting as soon as it got released.
Yeah.
And then Buster asked him about her buying anything else strange, and he was just like, paper. You know, that kind of, say, put the light bulb off in his head.
And
then when he looked up the investigation on Annie and started seeing all the quotes from Misery, I mean, he had to know at that stage.
Oh, exactly.
He had the right. He was in the right direction.
He was
definitely.
certain. He should have brought back up though, definitely.
Well, it's a small town. He was the only cop in the whole area, wasn't he?
Was his wife not working with him though on the case? Why not bring her?
But again, small town. I think she was only working on the case because she was there.
Would you let me work on the case with you?
Oh, we'd be badass.
That would be class. They could make a TV show about us.
Oh.
You'd have to get nicknames. Proper nicknames.
Oh, God.
So before Buster could help Paul, he was shot through the chest by Annie with a shotgun. And when Annie had heard Buster's car come up the road to her house, she drugged Paul and put him into the basement. And when Paul came to properly, Buster's body was lying beside him and Annie was standing over him with the gun in her hand.
So Annie kind of knew this was the end, like, didn't she? She was after shooting a cop. They were in this position.
Yeah.
She must have had a feeling, like.
Yeah. And she was kind of proposing another murder-suicide, so, yeah. So that, in her view, is kind of like a morbid way of celebrating the Misery novel, according to Paul.
So what it would be like, you've written this book for me. Would she not have wanted to read? Oh, well, she's been reading it as he's writing it. So she's getting... So instead of her being let down by Misery's death, she dies knowing Misery is safe and sound. And she can die with Paul Sheldon, who can never write another book killing Misery again. It just clicked with me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Paul agreed to the whole murder-suicide, but he told Annie that as part of his tradition on finishing a novel, that he first needed a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne and a cigarette.
Okay, not asking much. Not asking much.
So Annie, obviously still being one of his biggest fans, agreed to this, and she moved him back upstairs and she went about getting him the champagne and the cigarette. So when Annie came back to him, Paul used lighter fluid, which he says he managed to smuggle out of the basement, to set the manuscript alight. And while Annie tried to struggle to put out the fire, Sheldon overpowered her by whacking her over the head with a typewriter and choking her.
Coming back to bite her in the ass. She did to him, he did to her. This time he was prepared.
So Sheldon said that a bit of a struggle kind of ensued, but he managed to trip Annie and making her crack her head off the typewriter. So officially, that's how she died, by cracking her head off the typewriter that she forced Paul to use. But according to Paul, she recovered from this and attacked him again, but he killed her by ramming a metal statue of her pet pig Misery into her head.
Stephen King said this is embellishment, and he's seen Paul Sheldon's story, that he kind of put that in there himself for the final scare in a horror movie. Like I said about Randy's Rules and the Ghostface and stuff. That's what he was doing, that he was trying to make it more dramatic. That's all.
Yeah.
I've heard other versions of her being...
found in her barn.
Yeah, stuff like that. There's lots of other versions, but from what I've seen, the official report is she got her head cracked open on that typewriter, and that was it.
She died of a fractured skull. So.
And that was the end of Annie Wilkes, the Dragon Lady.
Yep, she sounds nice.
Crazy story, and definitely not going to be the only one that we get that'll be sourced from Stephen King.
Absolutely not.
We've got plenty of books there for us to be reading. But it's amazing how to get away with it for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and I know it's all technology, you know, and
there's
caught,
that
I mean,
side
that's
of
why
it
you don't have
massive.
as many serial killers anymore. They get caught quicker, and you know, all the web has this stuff linked up, so we can see the records, we can work stuff out quicker, patterns are easier to find, you know.
Yeah.
And next week we will be looking at a family. A family who got away with murder for a very long time. And that again just comes down to them not having technology, not being able to pass around information, get the data properly, or get DNA. I mean, if they had DNA back when this first thing happened, they probably would have been able to start putting the pieces together.
Oh, definitely.
But the thing I'm going to talk about next week, for the first 13 years after it happened, people didn't even believe it happened. And then it just started happening again and again. And then it starts getting tied up in all this fucking conspiracy, Illuminati stuff. It's going to be a crazy 2 weeks, because I'm going for 2 weeks this time.
Sounds like Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, this is just... it's been really fun to research and really fun to get into, but it's crazy.
Can't wait.
Yes. But that's next week. This week, thanks to my procrastinating, I still have to edit and get all this stuff ready.
Change from my to our very fast. Our.
Or procrastinating that we now don't have a week of a buffer between episodes and launch.
I have only ever said I need to postpone tonight. You come to me every week and it's like, sure, we're time enough doing it.
We're grand. We got loads of time. I got another 10 minutes before it's got to be up. No. Like I said, we will work better under pressure. And it's alright for you. You got another 3 weeks before you got to tell us another story.
I sure do. And then I have another bit of a break, and then I get to tell you another story.
But you'll be help covering the bonus episodes on Patreon that you can get for $5 a month. Outside that, start recommending us to friends, subscribe, leave reviews, follow us on Instagram, and the one thing we said we'd never do, TikTok. We're not doing any TikTok dances, we're just posting some really cool horror stuff. So come there, check us out. We're on everything. We're talking to people. We're being social. Fuck me. Until next week, I'm Dr. Smokenstein. She's Sexy Amy Rose. See you later. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.